All right. Y'all all right? Was the food okay? Is your belly halfway full? I know it couldn't be full. Hey, how y'all like that jackfruit? The jackfruit was good, right? Even though it's not meat, right? Was it? I ain't have one. I was kind of scared. But I got one. I put one on the side. I'm going to try one now that you said it. Don't be scared. All right, so we're going to get back into the program. But a couple of you were asking me for the information for the vegan restaurant that provided the food. The name of the restaurant is Black Eyed Peas NYC. Chef Mathis, located at 1580 Park Avenue. So I got a phone number. I actually got a big mouth, though. All right, so it was Black Eyed Peas NYC. Chef Mathis, located at 1580 Park Avenue, up here in Harlem. If you want the phone number and the email and all that, just see me before you go, and I'll give it to you, all right? That's the vegan mac and cheese, the vegan collard greens, jackfruit sliders. And it might be an okra, too, I ain't sure. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump back into the program. So we ask that you take your seats and lend an ear. I am going to turn it back over to Mr. Stewart Reed. Mr. Stewart Reed. Okay. And listen, can I do a shameless plug? Does anybody like house music? So can you listen to my show on Friday nights, 11:59 to 6 a.m., because it's house music all night long, okay? We be, okay.
Okay, thank you, Tina, and welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch. So now we're going to pick up the program with some really special information from FDNY, the Fire Department of New York, is going to talk to us and demonstrate CPR. So without further ado, I don't know anyone's name, so please introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Stacy. I'm here with my partners Tony, Elvis, and Rob. They're outside. So we are here from the FDNY EMS Academy, which is in Bayside, Queens. We are instructors there, but what we do specifically is we're part of the CPR unit, and we go around the 5 boroughs. It's a free service, and we teach people compression-only CPR. Right? Has anybody ever done a CPR class before in their life? All right. So traditional CPR, the ones that you get certified, is compressions, what we're going to learn today, and the mouth-to-mouth. And they do a few extra things as well, but that's a certification. Our program is not a certification, but it's a good workshop. It's a life-saving skill. At the end of the day, you don't need a certification to save somebody's life. So that's why we go around doing this. We're going to have a short video to show the actual steps of the compressions. I'll show you here live. And we have some mannequins. We'll set them up on the outside. If anybody's interested to practice, you can go ahead and do that when I show you guys. But if you don't do it today, we're going to leave some cards. Our website's on there, and you can book us. It's free. We come to, I don't know, if you're part of a church, an organization, community center, and we'll teach you and your friends and family CPR. Okay? Yeah? Honestly, it depends. It depends. Really? Oh, wow. Try again. Sometimes people do it within 2 weeks, and sometimes I've heard people, it depends on the schedule and the staff, I guess. All right. So the reason we go around doing this, and it's a free service to the 5 boroughs, is early CPR is what's going to save somebody's life, okay? The first minutes of somebody going into cardiac arrest are the most critical minutes, all right? And what usually people do is, you call 911, but by the time an ambulance comes, nobody's really doing anything for various reasons. They're nervous. They don't know what to do. They're panicking, right? So we need people to step in immediately, start compressions immediately in order to give your loved one the best possible chance at survival, okay? So there's a reason we're doing this. So I'm going to start the first video, well, the only video, just to see the actual compressions, and I'll show you and explain everything in detail right after, okay? It's a short clip.
Compressions only CPR. Recognize and act. Studies have shown the most effective tool that increases survival in patients suffering from cardiac arrest is chest compressions. Cardiac arrest is when a person's heart stops beating and they stop breathing. We must be able to identify that a person is in need of chest compressions before we act. Chest compressions keep a person's blood circulating throughout their body. If you witness a person collapse, do something, take action, be 911. This is Alan. Hello. He could be you, a bystander who will help me show you the steps you'll need to take in order to initiate compressions only CPR. CPR saves lives. I learned it, and now you will too. First, check to see if the person is responsive. Do this by tapping the person on both shoulders and shouting continuously like this. Sir, are you okay? Can you hear me? We want to make sure the person is not sleeping. If the person does not respond or wake up, we know this person needs help. Next, immediately send someone to call 911. Point to someone and make sure the person you shout to knows you want them to call 911. If possible, have someone attempt to locate an automated external defibrillator. You, call 911 and get an AED. If no one is around, call 911 yourself. Now, if the person is not breathing or appears only to be gasping, you need to begin chest compressions. Do this by finding the center of the person's chest. The optimal location for chest compressions is in the center of the chest, directly over the sternum. Use the heel of your dominant hand, place the other hand on top like this, and interlock your fingers like this, and begin compressing the chest. Push hard and push fast. Keep your elbows locked. Keep your back straight, and bend at the hips. You need to perform at least 100 compressions per minute. Remember, the key is to push hard and push fast. Great job, Alan. That's exactly how it's done. Now we'll discuss some of the guidelines that should be followed in order to perform the best chest compressions. Compression should be performed on the center of the chest, pressing down hard and fast, approximately 2 inches deep for adults, which is about halfway down on the chest. The victim must be on the floor when you do this. You may feel cracking under the person's skin due to ribs being broken. This is a common occurrence and should not deter you from continuing compressions. Broken ribs heal, but stopping compressions can ensure death. The chest should be allowed to fully recoil or allowed to return to its normal shape between each compression. Keep pressing on the chest and attempt to maintain a rate of at least 100 per minute. The lyrics to the song, Let's Get It Started, and many other songs follow a tempo of 100 beats per minute. Keep pressing on the chest until another person that is trained in CPR takes over or there are signs of life.
A little bit more detailed so you understand as to why we're doing certain things. We're not gonna just jump on somebody's chest and start compressing just because they look like they passed out, right? Somebody who needs CPR has to be in something called cardiac arrest, all right? And cardiac arrest just means that the heart has stopped. All right, thanks. That the heart has stopped, all right? And the breathing has stopped. We only do CPR on people who are dead, right? If my heart stops and my breathing stops, what does that make me? Dead, right? It sounds crazy, but we are trying to revive them. That's what CPR means. We're trying to revive them. So we have to check for that. So the first thing we're gonna do is if somebody drops, right? And when I say somebody, yes, maybe you might be able to help a stranger at some point in life, but the reality is, hey, that was me. Like I'm famous. So the reality is, if you ever have to do CPR in your lifetime, which hopefully you never have to, it'll be on somebody that you know, all right? Over 70% of cardiac arrests happen at home, all right? So first step, if somebody's on the floor where they shouldn't be, you wanna try to wake them up. So you're gonna take both your hands and hit both their shoulders, tap them pretty hard. Yeah. Well, tap hard. If you do a little light tap, nobody's gonna feel that. You wanna see if they wake up or make a noise, something, right? If they do not respond, your next step is to call 911. If you're by yourself, use your cell phone, put it on speaker, and the dispatcher will guide you. Call 911. The dispatcher will guide you through, right? But if you're in a group setting, tell somebody to call 911 for you. But don't just yell, hey, somebody call 911. People are videotaping nowadays, everything. People think maybe the person behind them is gonna call 911. So point to somebody and give them the responsibility. Like, hey, you with the MSK shirt, call 911, right? Just something so they know, oh, that's me, I'm wearing that, you know? And have them acknowledge you. Also, I'm gonna go over this afterwards. If you know there's an AED available, and I'll explain afterwards where they're usually available, you're going to ask somebody to go get you an AED as well. You don't have to open it now. Okay. Yeah.
There's one in this building when you first come in.
Okay. I'll explain to you. You can put it on there. I'll explain to you afterwards where those are located. But also ask somebody to get you an AED. The CPR, in addition with the AED, is going to give that person the best possible chance. Okay. After you call 911, the dispatcher is also going to ask you, is this person awake and breathing? They say along those lines. Or regardless, you should also always check if this person's alive, if they're breathing. In the movies or if people who have done CPR classes before, that's the point where we check for the pulse, right? We check for the pulse and breathing at the same time. For our class, just check for the breathing. Checking for a pulse is very difficult, especially if you're panicking, especially if you're not trained to do it, or if you're not doing it on a daily basis. So look at their chest. If your chest is rising and falling, that means you're alive and breathing, right? If their chest is not rising and falling, they're not breathing, and that's when we do compressions. So if there's a word called agonal breathing. That's a gasping breath. Even if you see somebody gasping, not hyperventilating, like a gasp, that is also a time to do CPR, okay? That means they're on their way out, and we need to start compressions immediately. So you're gonna take the heel of your hand and find the center of that person's chest, so the sternum, that flat bone in the middle of our chest. Your other hand's gonna come over, you're gonna interlock your fingers. Normally would be on the floor, right? Even if somebody's in bed, on a couch, on a chair, you find them unresponsive, bring them down to the floor. If we need to do CPR, they need to be on a firm surface, okay? Something firm underneath their back. So the floor is the best. Hey. Yeah.
Sorry. When my father passed, they had me bring him off the bed onto the floor, and I wasn't sure why they needed it, because, I mean, he was on a flat surface. And then while I was on the phone with them, because my mom was short, I was doing the chest compressions while on the phone, and my brother was doing them mouth to mouth. Didn't help, but at the time when you were saying about the tapping shoulder, they didn't tell me to do that or check for the breathing or anything like that. So it's like I was confused on what really to do. So I'm trying not to go what I see on TV versus what they what the person on the phone is telling me. So I'm just trying to ignore the TV and just rely on what they're saying. And it was struggling, because it's like not knowing how much pressure to put down and how many times, like, you don't think like how many times is 100 times. So it's like, it's just, you wind up getting confused. But it was thankful to the paramedic that was on the phone, or the person that was on the phone told me to, okay, now stop doing the chest compressions, didn't do the mouth to mouth, because I didn't know when to stop. So it was helpful though.
Thanks for sharing the story. That's the whole point of when you're on the phone with the dispatcher, they will guide you through things. There's protocols, even over the phone. And until we get there, they will guide you through everything.
The person is very big and they're on the bed and you're by yourself and you can't take them off, you can always put a board underneath their back, okay?
So, where was I? Forgot. Oh, yeah, we were talking about, because if you're on the mattress and you're doing CPR, you're going to be bouncing around, right? You want to give that person the best quality CPR. So, you're going to interlock your fingers. You're going to straighten out your elbows, right? Like I said, on the floor, it's going to look more efficient. And you're going to compress 2 inches down, which is, well, nobody carries a ruler, right, around with them. It's always going to be halfway down the person's chest. So the bigger the person, the more harder you're going to have to push. And a lot of people are always afraid, like, I don't want to push too hard, I'm going to hurt them. Most of the time, people don't push hard enough. You need to push hard, okay? Yep.
When they were showing the video, they were saying that something about keeping the elbows locked. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Your elbows have to be completely locked, because what you're doing is you're really moving with your waist. You're not moving with your arms bending up and down. You want to move with your whole body, because we need all that pressure, okay? And we are doing between 100 to 120 compressions a minute. That's a lot, right? That's about 2 compressions a second. And that's impossible to calculate in your head. So they come up, there's songs, right? If you Google CPR songs, there's a whole bunch of them. One of the most famous ones is Staying Alive. And which one? Okay. And when we teach students, they do Baby Shark. I don't know if anybody knows that song, but that's a CPR song too. So if you keep that tune in your head, you'll stay in the proper tempo and you're gonna be doing the correct amount of compressions. Because when you're nervous, what happens? You wanna go quicker. You think if I go quicker, I'm gonna save them quicker. But you have to keep a steady pace, okay? So let's say you're doing a good job, you're doing CPR, we are not there yet, and this person starts breathing again. You don't want to leave them flat on their back. If fluids come up, anything comes up, they're going to end up choking on it. So we're going to put them in something called the recovery position. So one hand goes on the shoulder, one hand on the waist, and you roll them onto their side. Either side is fine. Just obviously if you roll them closer to you, which is actually, towards you, which is easier. If they vomit, just don't drop them, right? Because they're going to vomit on your Vans. But I guess that's the least of our problems, right? You're just happy that that person's alive. So always keep an eye on their chest when you have them in recovery position, because they might go back into cardiac arrest, which at that point you're gonna put them back down and continue compressions. Okay? Simple, right?
What happens like if the person who needs the CPR has like obstructed airways or like something that you can't visibly see, but like there's something in their mouth, like vomit or something? Like, what do you do in that moment if you need to do the mouth to mouth?
So I wouldn't recommend doing mouth to mouth with vomit in somebody. The reality, so like I said, what we teach is just compression only. If you don't know how to do mouth to mouth, if you were not trained for it, don't. Okay? Straight compressions is good enough until we get there. Now, if you know how to do the mouth to mouth and do the breathing, and it's your family member, you don't care if you have a barrier device or anything like that, the best thing you can, because we have suction devices, we always have devices for things. The best thing you can possibly maybe do is maybe try to turn them over a little bit, maybe drain out. But at that point, the dispatcher will guide you through if you tell him that information, or him or her that information. Okay? So, anybody wanted to practice? If anybody wants to practice, come outside. Can you get some mannequins?
Oh, yeah?
Can you get some mannequins?
We got some people on the practice. Put some on.
What? No. No, we're not doing this. We're not interrupting it. Huh? No, I'm going to do the ED. Yeah. All right, so while they're doing the practice, I'm going to show you how to use the AED, okay, and where it's located. So an AED stands for Automated External Defibrillator, okay? So anybody heard of a pacemaker before? Some people have. That's an internal defibrillator. This is an external defibrillator, okay? So again, this is only used on people who are in cardiac arrest. It doesn't replace CPR. We put it together if available. They're not always available, right? When you call 911, we bring one to every call because you never know what happens. People don't usually have this at home. You're able to purchase if you'd like to. They don't. It's not only for medical personnel, but normally people don't carry these at home. So these are located. They have to be at all schools, private or public. There has to be AEDs there. When the students are in teams, whether they, practice games, the coach always has to have one with them. And why is that? Because cardiac arrest is for all ages, right? It happens to younger children, it happens to the elderly, it happens to middle age, all ages, right? You never know what's going on. It can either be something medical or it can be something traumatic, maybe a bad car accident. Somebody goes into cardiac arrest, right? The heart stops. So these always, not always, but some restaurants have them. They don't have to have them, but some do. Anything that is open to the public, like malls, stadiums, concert halls, like Madison Square Garden, for example, they have to have an AED available, all right? Anything open to the public where there's a lot of people, they have to have this. Public parks, right? Sometimes the place is so huge you really don't know where it might be, but that's why we say tell somebody to go get one for you, if available, okay? So these machines, say it again? Yep. The airplanes, and there's always staff on there that are CPR certified as well. So these are extremely easy to use, okay? They might look a little bit different, but they all do exactly the same thing. If you're gonna remember anything from this device, is turn it on. Once you get it, turn it on because it's gonna tell you step by step what to do, all right? So ours, we have a green button on top, which they're all gonna be green. It's an on and off button. But once you turn it on, don't turn it off, just let it go. The bottom one is an orange button, that's a shock button. And only when that button is flashing are you able to shock somebody. And in the middle here where the square is, on real AEDs, most of them, there's a screen. So whatever it's telling you to do, it'll be showing you pictures as well, okay? So it's basically gonna guide you through how to properly place the AED on somebody. So the AED consists of AED pads. So the pads have our stickers. Basically, you know, anybody ever did an EKG before? Something similar, but it's just 2 pads. They have pictures on them of how our mannequin looks, like half a body, and there's arrows. So the arrows will tell you where to place the pads on the chest. And this is the proper placement. Doesn't have to be exact, just in this area and in this area, okay? So I guess now we'll turn on the AED so you guys can see how it works. Mm-hmm. Maybe take it off completely, though.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest. Plug in pads connector next to flashing light.
So the first step, it said apply the pads. And if you didn't hear it, or you're nervous, or it's too loud, this machine keeps repeating itself.
Apply pads. Plug in connector.
So the connector is going to be flashing for you. There's no other place you can plug it in, but it's going to flash for you so you can do it as quickly and as effectively as possible.
Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient.
At that point, if anybody's near the patient, touching the patient, back up. Tell them to clear.
Charging. Stay clear of patient.
Everybody clear, clear.
Deliver shock now. Press the orange button now.
So the machine is going to start, charge up, start flashing, but before you press that button, look at the patient again, yell clear, and then you're going to press it.
Now.
Clear, clear, everybody clear. I'm clear, everybody's clear.
Shock delivered. Paused. If no signs of circulation, start CPR.
So that, it said if no signs of circulation, start CPR. That means look at them. Are they breathing? Are they moving? Any signs of life? If not, we're continuing compressions. Okay? Now, if they are breathing after that shock and they're showing signs of life, we're going to roll them over and put them in recovery position, like I said before. Okay? It's as simple as that. The hardest part of all of this is staying calm. It's the machine tells you exactly what to do. The skill itself, the CPR, is very simple skill. It's just you gotta keep calm, the best you can, obviously, because when it's your family member, it's hard to keep calm. All right. Any questions on the actual CPR that we talked about before, or the AED? Yep. Inside their body, no. Or even sometimes people have piercings. Oh, so the question was if somebody has anything electronic inside their body, right? Will it be harmful for them to shock that person? And the answer is no. So have people that have pacemakers. That's an electronic. We still have to use this device if they're in cardiac arrest. All right? There's no contraindication to using this device or CPR. All right? Even on the external of the body. So one thing I didn't mention before. When using the AED, waist up, everything has to come off, and that's the bra included. All right, we don't want nothing interfering with us placing the pads properly or analyzing the heart. All right, we don't want anything interfering with that. The pads have to stick on the skin, okay? Let's say somebody has a very hairy chest. These pads might not stick to the chest properly. So the AEDs usually come with a razor, and that razor is to shave their chest. We're not shaving their whole body, all right, and their legs, just these 2 spots, just so we can be able to place the pads on the 2 sections. Oh.
Do not touch the patient.
So this machine reanalyzes every 2 minutes. So let's say you're still doing CPR, and let me close it. In 2 minutes, it'll tell you again, analyzing the heart, stop touching the patient, and check to see if this person needs to be shocked or not, all right? Sometimes you might not shock a person not once until we get there, or you might shock them 3 times or 4 times until we get there, okay? Yep.
What's the maximum amount of times that you can shock a person?
So the question is, what is the maximum number of times? There is no maximum. If the machine's telling you to shock, you're going to shock. Hopefully you're not there for too long. If you call 911, we should be there fast. This call for us, a cardiac arrest, is priority 1. If somebody's not breathing, that's the priority. We have to get there as quick as possible. But even if we get there the best time possible, 5 minutes, let's say we get there within 5 minutes, the brain cells begin to die within 4 to 5 minutes without circulation. So that's how quickly the brain cells start to die. That's why we go around teaching compression, at least compression-only CPR. When you're pressing on somebody's chest, you're circulating their blood, right? And it's going to the vital organs. Once you get into cardiac arrest, within 4 to 5 minutes, your brain cells begin to die without circulation in the body. Okay, and they're not coming back. Those cells, once they die, you can't get them back. All right, so that's why it's so important we start early. Early CPR is what's gonna save people's lives. I don't know if anybody watches football. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago when the NFL player went into cardiac arrest? He's young, athletic, right, in shape, but it wasn't a medical for him, right? It was a trauma. The ball hit him. So the ball hit him the wrong way, and he went into cardiac arrest. What saved him is early CPR and the early use of the AED. That's what saved him. And he got shocked 2 times, right? Yeah, he came back, thankfully. Yep. So the question is there any after effects of using the AED on a person? Hopefully come back to life, which is a positive after effect, right? Maybe sometimes a little burn, right? But nothing major, nothing major. I don't want to say it's major, but you saw how hard he was compressing, right? In the middle of the chest. Do you think maybe the ribs might break? That's not the goal. The goal is not to break the ribs, but it might happen, right? Maybe somebody has a bone problem. They're elderly, or what? There's a million reasons why somebody's bones might be brittle. You keep going. You keep going. If you stop compressions because you're afraid, like, oh my God, I broke their ribs. I killed them. Remember what I said? They're dead already, number 1. But number 2, if you stop compressions, you're not giving them any chance at that point. They're just gonna stay dead. Yep.
As we were practicing out there, like, I mean, even now, like, I could still feel pain in my back. As a person that's doing the compressions on the person, you said we're not supposed to stop, but what happens if the person who's doing the chest compressions and, you know, they get tired, they get winded, or a back injury occurs? What do we do in that moment?
Good question. So, great question. Everybody heard it, right? I was going to repeat it, but I forgot you had the microphone. So, if you're exhausted, so this is unlimited, the CPR, right? You go until hopefully they wake up. You go until we arrive, or any help arrives, really. If somebody's just passing by and they're willing to help you, even if they've never done this before, show them. Put your hands here, right? I showed you in like 2 seconds where to place the hands. Put your hands here and keep pushing. Take a break. But if you're by yourself, you don't want to be the next one on the floor. Give yourself a break. People have medical conditions. People have, or you just get exhausted. It's a tiring skill. Give yourself a break. If you're able to go back and do compressions, great. If not, just wait for us to come. Make sure you call 911. Yep.
I'm on the board at my senior center, and unfortunately, many of my seniors could not come out for an event like this. So my question is, would you guys be willing and able to come out to my senior center? Thank you.
So
we'll come out to anybody, anywhere in the 5 boroughs, free of charge. Get us 10 people or more in a space to do it in. We'll do the whole 45-minute class.
So we're going to leave some cards here if you want to pick it up, but there's a website. I know everything's done by website nowadays, but there's a website. It's FDNYSmart.org, and you go to Community Affairs, and you look for the CPR unit. The other option is Fire Safety, where they talk about fire safety. You can book that too. They're both free services, and we will come out to anywhere in the 5 boroughs and teach everyone CPR, and it's free. Yep. Let me give you the microphone.
Okay, do y'all perform CPR when a person has a stroke?
So the question is, do we perform CPR on somebody who has a stroke? If somebody had a stroke and they went into cardiac arrest, they're not breathing, yes, we will. But we don't perform CPR just because somebody is having a stroke. If somebody's having a stroke, doesn't mean automatically they stop breathing. They can still be alive, right? Same thing goes for a heart attack. Just because somebody's having a heart attack doesn't mean that automatically they're in cardiac arrest. It's just it's a medical emergency, but they're still alive. They're breathing. Some people, patients that I've had, they were having a heart attack, but they didn't even realize until we had put the EKG on their chest. So the only time we do CPR is you have to make sure that they're not breathing. If they're not breathing, most likely they are not alive. And I say most likely is because normally we check the pulse at the same time too. So you're not going to be in this situation checking the pulse because we didn't show you that. But if somebody's not breathing, inevitably their pulse is going to stop if it's not already stopped. Okay? Yep.
When you do the pulse, you do it neck and you do it here also?
So for CPR, we check the carotid pulse on the neck. That's the pulse we look for. Any other questions? Yep.
So if somebody's
Oh, you
not
got it.
breathing, if someone's not breathing, they're automatically dead if they're not breathing?
Technically, no, I can't say technically, if somebody's not breathing and their heart has stopped, technically in that moment they are dead. Now, when it comes to just breathing, if they just stop breathing, we are going to assume yes in this course that we're doing, because if they're not breathing, and if 911 is not there to help assist with oxygen with everything, they will stop. Their heart will stop at the same time, or not the same time, or soon after that. So we are going to still start compressions early if their chest is not rising. Okay. This is for our course. Now, if you take the certification, they're going to teach you check for pulse and breathing at the same time.
American,
Yeah,
do
the
it?
American Heart Association and the
Okay.
Red Cross. Yeah. So if anybody is interested in doing a certification class, it's the Red Cross or the American Heart Association. Usually you go, oh, you guys are Red Cross? I didn't know that, right? This is what I usually say. You go on the website, you put the zip code, and you see who's holding classes in your neighborhood or wherever you want to do the classes. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Yeah.
When you doing the CPR on them, and you would tap them and say, "Could you hear me?" You know, you do all that too. I think I had this class maybe about 10 times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Normally it's like, hey, are you
Right.
okay? Are you all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're trying to wake them up any way possible, whether you're talking to them, hitting them on their shoulders, Yep.
So it's not the same for somebody. It's not the same for somebody who's choking, right?
Choking? No. Somebody who's choking may end up in cardiac arrest because the object has not come out, but that's when we do the abdominal thrust. It used to be called Heimlich maneuver, but I think they changed it now to abdominal thrust. Oh no, we don't teach the choking. We don't teach anything other than chest compressions. I mean, I can practice on my partner over here, maybe. He just ate lunch. I don't think anybody wants that.
Okay, I think we have time for one final question, if there is one.
Anybody else? No? You look like you want to ask something.
She wanted to know what is an abdominal thrust.
It's the Heimlich maneuver. The Heimlich, when somebody's choking, you just saw in the movies when they. So basically, it's when you do the Heimlich on somebody, you're basically under their diaphragm, and you're kind of pushing in and up at the same time, because you're trying to push that air to bring that object out. Hopefully. Yeah, but I have to look it up. But I'm pretty sure somebody had told me when we were in the academy that if you guys know, they don't call it the Heimlich anymore because there was a problem with the name or whatever, and now it's called the abdominal thrust. It's literally just explaining the Heimlich maneuver is you're hitting the abdomen and pushing upwards. Yeah. Anybody else? Good? All right. Thank you so much for having us. I hope you guys learned.
Okay, let's give the FDNY round of
Thank you.
applause for a fantastic demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, thank you. So, now we have a very exciting presentation from one of the real veterans in emergency preparedness. This is a young lady that I learned from going back a dozen years when I was brand new to this field. I learned so much from her. So please welcome to the podium Miss Carol Johnson from East Harlem Co-ed.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm glad to see new faces, and I'm glad to see faces I've seen before, because that means you made it through. Yeah, that's the wonderful part about this. If you know nothing, you won't know what to do. If you know a little, you'll do a little. But the more you know, the more you will react. And let's be real, the majority of the people in here now, you're beautiful. You're looking good. But I know there's quite a few super seniors up in this room, just like me. And so, I just want to talk about a few things that, will help us, because the bottom line is, whether we want to admit it or not, and I tell you, as we get older, we get stubborn. Nobody can tell us anything. But if you know like I know, you better let somebody tell you how to save your life if they know how. You know, and you know, a lot of it, like, I had to learn, because when I came into this field, I came in a wheelchair. That's my motorized scooter in the back of my car. Say hello to the people, Felice. So I came into the program there, and I trained for CERT, the people in the back in the green uniforms, Community Emergency Response Team. Make sure you stop at that table, because one thing about CERT, they can use anybody. There's blind people in CERT, there's deaf people in CERT. I use a chair. There are other people with other disabilities, you know, sight, hearing, different things, but there's always a place for you. And not only that, but that you can take and teach your family. It'll help you understand how to help save yourself in an emergency and work with your neighbors. And these are the mothers of CERT, not because of their age, I'm not trying to be funny, but because they're from NYSEM, New York City Emergency Management, under whom CERT is operated. And we're happy as the East Harlem cohort, a cohort of New York City Emergency Management. So we're all still working together. I want to give out my brothers a shout out, my sisters from CERT, as well as the Harlem Emergency Network. These are all the things that we're working on in this team. How to communicate on an emergency level. If the grids go down, who you gonna call? And how you gonna call them? Because if the internet goes down and Wi-Fi goes down and all of that goes down, you have no communication unless there's somebody here that really knows how to send smoke signals and they got a carrier pigeon. But this team operates through old school. See, one thing about young people, they always want to tell you, a lot of us old people are starting to listen to those young people who's telling us that old school don't work. Now, you may have some new ideas, just like we had some new ideas when we were growing up that was different from our parents. So we have to listen to each other and see what works best. But we go old school. We go back to handheld radios, because that's the only thing that's going to work if the grids go down. So you're going to be in your house talking to yourself on your cell phone. And the thing about it is, there's so many things that come along with that. Handheld radio. It's very simple operation. I don't want to go too deep into it because Harlem Emergency Network is coming in behind me, but I just want you to know that these are the things that's available. So the thing about it is, I had to learn that I had to reach out to other people. And then I had to realize at the same time, they may not reach back. So I had to depend on myself. Being a single senior, handicapped, and a lot of the handicaps I have nothing to do with being in that chair that you can't see. So I had to realize. So the first thing I did, how many people got a medic alert? I see 2 hands. Mine makes 3. Medic alert. It's something that you can get through your insurance company. It's a device that they put in your house. You'll have a little thing that you can put around your neck. And also there's some that you can use outside, depending on what type of insurance you have. But the medic alert at home is free. And so my medic alert is hooked up with my neighbors right next door to me who has the keys to my apartment, who have had the keys to my apartment for the last 35 years. So if I push my medic alert, the operator will ask, do you need help, Miss Johnson, or do you need Olga? If I don't respond, they will immediately get in touch with Olga, because they know they can come into the apartment and see about me. So I advise everyone to talk to your doctors about getting a medical alert. It has to be hooked up to somebody's apartment, aside from you, in the case you're in distress. The other thing that I want to talk about is, because everybody gave away so much information, I'm like, well, I can't go there. They already talked about that. But I want to talk about sheltering in place. Because a lot of people in here said you have a go bag right now. Only raise your hand if you're telling the truth. Who has a go bag? All right. That's a better number than I saw last year. So I'm really happy about that. So next year when we do this again, this is, I think, my 9th year being here. The next year will be the 10th year. I want to see more hands go up with those go bags, that you are ready to go. And don't think for a minute that if something happens in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and somebody's banging on your door and say you have to leave, a lot of people will dispute me on this. I'm not going anywhere. They will snatch you out of that apartment if they have to, because number one, the main thing is that they expect when they come out the house, they want to get back home just like you want to get back home safely. They want to get back to their loved ones. They don't have enough time to run around and let you run and get your code and try to figure out where your keys are. It needs to be in a bag near your door. Copies of your ID, a copy of keys, some extra dollars in there, clothing, medicine. You know, medicine we may not be able to get ahead of time, but every time you get a medication refill, you get a slip that comes with it. Put that slip in the bag. That copy of your IDs, you have to be able to prove who you are. The saddest thing I ever went through was being a first responder in CERT and responding to different explosions around the city and different catastrophes. But the worst one, living in East Harlem and watching those bodies come out. That's something I will never forget. 8 bodies came out of that building. And the building just collapsed, and some of them came out alive. And, you know, when the people got to the service center, because not only did the 2 buildings go down and were completely demolished, there was another 4 or 5. It was 4 or 5 buildings that were vacated, so those people couldn't go back to their apartments for 13 days. And those who lost their apartments altogether, everything that they owned, all they had was what was on their backs. And it was so sad to be in this center and watching people come in. I know you're scared, you have anxiety, all kind of things are going on in your mind. You have other family members that might have lived in an apartment with you that might have gone down in the building. Hopefully they got out and went to get some coffee or some breakfast or something. They weren't in there. But to see people come in one after another, no ID. They couldn't prove who they are. And I understand when somebody says like, well, I'm telling you who you are. I'm telling you who I am. I'm Carolyn Johnson. I live such and such place, but I can't prove it. And I know when people come in and they're like, but I take medication. I take Lipitor. I take metformin. If I'm a doctor, I'm not going to put my license on the line giving you something that you can't prove. It is vitally important that you put that information in your go bag. And the only time you have to make sure you check it is when your medication changes. If they take you off of a medication or if they put you on a medication, because sometimes we don't remember. I came out of nursing school in 1974, and sometimes they'll ask me something, I'm like, did I ever take that? I don't even remember taking that. But it's the fact. Sometimes you just don't know the name of the medication you take, especially if you've been taking it over the years. So you want to make sure that information is in there. I want to leave you with this thought. Everyone, I have to sit down. I want to ask and really implore you to get a plan. And that plan should be with someone else. A family member, your child, grandchild, maybe an adult, but to make a plan to go somewhere else if you have to leave your home. Because to have to go to a shelter, there's going to be an accommodation for you, but it's going to be a meager accommodation. You know, there's going to be a nice cot, you're going to get food, not immediately. But I mean, if you have your own, all right now, because you can tell I'm a foodie now. But the food is not even going to be available soon. So you make sure you put a snack in there. Make sure you put a water in that bag. You know, talk to your family members. Don't just assume I can go to my son's house. You know, I can always go to my son's house unless you can, huh? The wife not only may not want you there, they may not be there. Unless you have a key and you've had an arrangement made with them. Because you're absolutely right. A lot of times people getting busy. Folk getting busy. They like, Ma, okay, I gotta call her back. And they just keep getting their groove on. You know what I'm saying? Well, the thing about it is, you don't even know about theirs, you just know about yours. So you need to make a plan for where you are. Now, if that happens there, then you will find out. But first, you gotta have that plan. Because if that's the case, a good point that you just made, if it happens in their area, maybe they need to make a plan together. You come to my house, I'll come to yours. But don't just go. Go with some stuff. Go with your toiletries, you know, your clothes, different things like that. A few dollars. And let me tell you, a lot of times when things happen, that splits families up. You know, don't go in there with nothing. The more you come and you're self-dependent, the easier it is on the family that you're staying with. And that could be your child. That could be your son, your daughter, your granddaughter. You want to make it easy on them. You don't want them, you know, you don't be sitting back, kicking back. Get up and help make breakfast. A lot of us in here get food stamps. Listen, I'm going to the store today. I'm going to get breakfast. Or what you want for dinner. Make a little list and I'll go get it. Some women don't want you in their kitchen. So listen, if you want me to help you cook, I'll help you cook. But let me know what you want to have for the family. I'll go pick it up. You know, and be kind and pay attention and clean up the area that you're in. Don't just leave it for somebody else because that's your daughter. Because the same way that's your daughter today, she could still be your daughter with her boot kicking you out of the house. You know, so we just got to be respectful of people. And, you know, we're strong people. We're resilient people. The most you can do for yourself, and even with your neighbors, where you have people that's been living together in the same building for 30 years, y'all are friends. You have coffee meetings, right? Y'all get together sometime, go out and have a McDonald's burger or some coffee or something. Sit down and talk about a plan amongst amongst all of you. You know, where you can map it out, because sometimes y'all are the only friends each other have, the only family each other have. You know, you can have a sleepover. It's bad, somebody's scared, the lightning is getting to them, they can't stand it. Y'all just get together, lay some blankets on the floor and go to sleep. And tell dirty jokes. You know, whatever it takes. Get your music, get your batteries, get your radio, get your flashlight. Have some food, make sure you have extra water. And that goes with sheltering in place as well. Extra toilet paper, extra whatever it is that you need, food that's not perishable. We see how every time something's happening, all of a sudden, we all run to the store and then we mad because there's nothing there. Go get it now. Yeah. Have it in your house now. COVID is rising now. Yeah. Get that bleach now. Yeah. COVID is rising now. Yeah. Get those masks now. Yeah. Get those cleaning supplies now. The toilet paper, whatever it is that you need in your house for your personal survival. And this is the last thing I know, I said that before. Anybody that's on any medical equipment, like nebulizers, CPAP machines, or anything like that, I'm not asking you to tell me your business. But I'm just saying, if you're on those things, consider calling your medical companies. Because oftentimes when you have those things, you only have to have them for like 5 years. People don't even realize. They got them like 10 years, and you're eligible to get another one after 5. But call your insurance company and ask them, how soon can I get another one of these? Because you may have to put one in your go bag and have another one in your house. But you can get backup equipment and let your management know you're there and what you need. If you need to be evacuated, if you have medical information for them, if you're in a chair, if you have difficulty ambulating, if someone is electricity dependent, make sure management knows, because those would be the first people that would be evacuated if necessary. If you get ready and you stay ready, you don't have to prepare to get ready. And we do not come to scare you. We come to prepare you.
Okay.